This time on All Clear, more Old Timey EMS. As 2024 starts to crank up, we wanted to start off our second season with a visit back with one of our most popular guests, Ed McGaha. As his son, I have the privilege of being able to enjoy his wisdom and insight regularly. So I wanted you, our listeners, to have the same chance to sit down with him and listen to how times change from when he was a provider to now being a patient of the same system. Also, we get a chance to hear a few more old war stories that will definitely make you smile. Dad, it's good to sit down with you again. I'm sure you know this, that you are our most popular episode, the Old Timey EMS episode that we did, where you were talking about how training wasn't necessarily a huge thing years ago. That has been gangbusters. Everybody that we talk to, they say that, oh man, I listened to you and your dad talking, and it was really popular. And I know that I just want to take a few minutes just to sit down. It's just me and you today. Eric's not with us, but just to follow back up with what we were talking about, you were talking about how you've had your experiences as both a care provider, being an ambulance driver,
Yeah.
but you've also been a patient as you've gotten older.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So with that happening, what are the differences that you see from a patient standpoint at this point in your life compared to what kind of services you guys rendered? How would you say things are better now?
Oh, you wouldn't believe. First of all, I think of the EMS here in Concord are the top of my list. I said they are great. They took care of me quickly. I had an episode, like passed out, I was sick, dehydrated and all that. And my wife called the EMS to come out and check me. And they came out. When they come in, they come through the door with a bag full of equipment, whatever, all kind of stuff, first aid and this and that. And I said, they walked in there, and I said, the EMS, he walked over where I was at. And when he walked up, he had a stethoscope. He took my blood pressure. He put some on my finger. I don't know why.
Probably blood oxygen.
Well, yeah, it could have been. And he asked me a bunch of questions, and we talked. And so they decided to transport me. I said, that's the first for me to ride in one. But anyway, I said, I agree. So we started out. We come out the front door, and I looked, and there were about 4 or 5 more standing in the yard. I thought, I'd love to have them back in the days instead of there by myself.
Just as you and Joe were the only two at the time.
Buddy,
Yeah.
Yeah, I said, they were there for backup. I said, that was never heard of.
In all fairness, we live right near the local fire station, and everybody knows where I live, and they know where you guys live, and they've been out a few times. But honestly, things are different now. And you brought up a good point when we were talking. You said last time you guys didn't have a radio until a little bit later in your career. And now I think a lot of folks take it for granted that when they get in their truck or they get in the ambulance, they've got the computer screen there that tells you where you're going, tells you how to get there. It's got GPS, shows you all that. The information from the call, all that's right there on that CAD so that you can see and you know exactly what you're walking into.
Yeah.
And do you think that would probably made your job a little easier years ago?
Definitely. We walked out, we found the address where it was going on the wall there on the map, and walked out the door. Again, we didn't have any communication, so we really didn't know what we were walking into.
Yeah.
But when I was transported with the EMS here where we live in our county, that when I got in the ambulance, the guy, the attendant in the back, he popped the IV in me, started giving me fluids because he recognized I was dehydrated.
Right.
And then I looked over, and there's another attendant sitting over there with a computer typing in. And I asked him, I said, what are you doing here? He said, I'm taking information. I said, okay, really? And anyway, we started off, and we're going up the road, and I looked at the attendant there, attending to me. I said, I think I'm going to be sick. I said, I'm going to throw up. And I said,
They don't like that.
Yeah, I said, it ain't going to be pretty. I said, And you better get something for me to throw up in. And you better get something big. I said, I'm sick. He said, I'll take care of that. I said, he took something out of his bag, popped it in the IV. Within 2 or 3 minutes, I was a well person.
Yeah.
I said, man, I can't believe that. I said, I need some of that myself. Anyway, we got to the hospital, and we went into the hospital. He had already diagnosed what was going on, started the IVs and everything. So he spoke to the nurse, and they communicated, and they put me back there in a room. But back years ago, in the old time, nothing like that was possible. That was unheard of. I said, when you got to the hospital back then, they don't know what was coming, and a lot of times, they had to, get permission, start IVs and all that. I said, this was already done when I walked in the door.
That's one of the things that we talk about a lot is continuity of care. A lot of times the fire department and our trucks are the first folks. We get there before EMS does. Whatever we do, we tell EMS immediately, and typically we'll stay on site and help out a little bit.
Yeah.
But from that point to when you're in the ambulance, information is being fed back.
Oh, yeah.
And by the time you get to the ED, man, they know you're coming. They know pretty much what's going on.
Yeah.
And the good part about that is it's almost seamless. And, hey, you're here, you're doing good. And, I have a lot of respect for our guys here in Concord. Not just fire department, but EMS. And
EMS is top-notch, yeah. I love the EMS. But anyway, after they put me in a room, I told the boy that brought me out, I said, I'm about ready to go back home. I said, I'm a well man. He'd done everything, and I was feeling good. I was ready to go back home.
These guys are good at what they do.
Oh, they were the best.
And we hope we don't need them, but at least we know they're there. But it's funny, you and I, when we were talking a little bit before we started recording, we talk about how information's passed along and stuff like that. I know one of the things that's big now, having the police department have PD on scene. They'll be there a lot of times, particularly if it's any type of violence or drugs or anything like that. They'll be ready to go. In your time, did you ever walk in on something where you wish police had been there, or maybe they hadn't gotten there yet?
I had to have a couple of times. We got a call again, didn't know what was going for. Pulled up in the yard, we got out, got stretched out, and this lady standing there in the yard. She said, my husband's in the house. He had too much to drink anyway. Anyway, I said, okay, we'll go in and talk to him. He said, oh, he's got a gun.
Good information to have.
I said, I need to know that. I right back out. And it wasn't but probably 5 minutes, and the police come up. And they looked at me. I said, I ain't going in there.
Yeah, you don't get paid to get shot at.
I said, you going in there. But anyway, they got it handled and everything. And two, we got another call. They called us one night. Oh, it's probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Nothing good happens after dark.
Oh, anything after dark. No. And the operator got me off guard. I happened to answer the phone, and she said, talking about Little Texas. And I told her, I said, ma'am, I said, this is Concord, North Carolina. And I hung up on her. And she called right back and said, no. Said, there's a call for an ambulance up on Little Texas Road.
And for context, that's in the next town over from where we are now.
Yeah.
And I can see how that can be confusing, particularly back then.
But 2 or 3 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for that one. But anyway, that was another one. We didn't know what was going on. We pulled up, and it was, what call it out?
Like a bar or a dive bar or something like that.
Play for 2 o'clock in the morning, you can figure. And we walked in, just nobody there but me and him. And we walked through the door, we seen the guy, he was laying on the floor over there. And we started over to check him, and there's another guy standing there, the one with a pistol in his hand. And he said, y'all don't need to check. I said, no, sir.
Nope, we're good.
I said, we're good. So we back out again, and Kannapolis police finally showed up and handled the situation.
Yeah.
But you don't know what's coming up on. I never knew.
Yeah, I think back to when I was doing my training for EMS. The instructor we had, he told multiple stories about how they would show up on a scene, and there would be some question that maybe somebody was on drugs or somebody had a weapon. Yeah. And he talked about one day when a guy turned around and had a baseball bat right between his forehead where he'd been hit, and he was still walking around. You don't know what you're going to get into, and it can be really complicated sometimes. And not only can you have problems not know what you're getting into, but what about when you have to figure out what to do when there's no instructions written for it?
Oh, that's a whole different story. Again, you say when you get a call, you don't know what's going on, what the situation is, and we got a call to a plant, and we pulled up, and we thought maybe somebody passed out or got cut.
Like a meat packing plant, that's what you said?
And we walked in and looked, and there's a guy had his arm stuffed in a sausage, got his arm hung in a sausage grinder.
That don't even sound good.
No, it wasn't a pretty sight. And we looked at him, and it was a big pan that the sausage grinder was attached to. And I said, we're sitting there, what we're going to do? Couldn't back and get his arm out. So we decided we got some tools and separated him and the pan from the machine and loaded him and the pan both up in the ambulance and took both of them to the hospital.
So you had a patient and part of the machine in there.
Yeah, we loaded it all up because we didn't know what else to do. Nobody there to give us any kind of instruction. And then when we went in, the doctor looked at it, and they stunned on that. So we took one up to the surgery, and they still was trying to decide how to handle it. And they decided to call the maintenance crew from the hospital. So they came up first with some tools, wrenches, and separated the grinder from the pan, and they finally could get his arm out.
So it sounds like that everybody was lost, but you had to get the maintenance man involved to get it undone.
Yeah, everybody had to get involved.
Yeah, it's funny how that still happens today. Yeah. Usually the maintenance man that you don't think knows anything is the one that fixes the biggest problem.
Yeah, he saved the day right there.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, but we know it, got it handled, but been nice to know what was going on and had some help.
Yeah, I know Mom was showing me a scrapbook last night that she had stuff from her career, your career. And one of the things that I thought was funny, and you mentioned this last night, was the fact that when the ambulance company actually got a radio, it made the newspaper.
It made the newspaper.
Yeah.
They didn't say there was only one-way communication.
Hey, take what you can get.
Yeah, we'd take all we could get.
Wow.
Yeah, so that helped a little bit, but it still been nice to have somebody there with you.
To let you know what you're getting into.
Let you know what you're getting into.
So
we always.
So you had pretty much the same partner the whole time you were riding, didn't you?
Basically, yeah. Met another boy, yeah.
Because I met Joe growing up, so I knew him. And
yeah, he was great. He was. And like I say, there's only 3 or 4 of us, and we get real busy. And sometimes I know that me and my partner would be at the hospital with a patient, and they get another call. They had to call the emergency room and let them know, and not that they needed somebody else to help them. So I had to leave my buddy, run across the road and stand on the side of the road. The ambulance come by and pick me up. We made the second call.
I had to keep swapping out.
Yeah, keep swapping out. Yeah.
Well, I bet that made for busy nights and quick nights, though.
Yeah, it was a lot different.
Yeah, I know that you did some time in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And you said that was about the same time that you were doing this, and it all stacked up.
Yeah.
Do you think coming from the military, because that's a pretty common thing we see now, folks that come from the military wind up EMS, fire, police, different first responders. Do you think any of the things that you experienced there helped to prepare you for what you were doing and deal with these crazy situations?
Maybe that the training you get in the military it's hard training, but anyway, it prepares you for any situation, and to not to panic.
Right.
When you come up situation, handle it. Don't panic. Just handle it. So I kind of help in with us that we come up on a situation, and the big thing was not to panic, get excited, or anything. Well, it kind of worked.
I know when I was learning to drive and you were teaching me, I know you were very patient and you never got upset, although I'm sure you were hanging on for dear life a few times, pumping an imaginary brake. But
oh, yeah, so bored. Yeah.
Yeah, but being calm does go a long way. And I know one of the calls that you had talked about before, you had people that wanted to come up and help, maybe people that were around. How did that ever work out?
Yeah, back then, it's not like now where you got help. And every once in a while, somebody'd run, can we help you? Can we help you? And basically, we didn't want them to because we've done a job, but we had an accident, and the guy had his head through the windshield. And he bled out right there before we even got there. Anyway, we was getting him out. These two boys come running over. Can we help you? Can we help you? And he took one look. He passed out there on the ground. And we finally got the situation under control and loaded up. I told his buddy, I said, you better get him out of the road. I said, he's going to get run over. And we drove off. But yeah, this is another time that you just never know.
Yeah, and people have good intentions, but when they encounter the realities of what can be, if you're not prepared for it, you're not going to do well with it. And that's a lot of what me and Eric talk about through our podcasts. I know you've listened to some of them. Sometimes you carry this stuff with you for years, and you might not think about it for 30, 40 years, and then all of a sudden you think about somebody with their head through a windshield, and yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, because when you face a situation, you really have to act. And I know one occasion was taking a patient had been in a house fire, or he was pretty well burnt, and we had him in a rubber bag, and we got to the hospital, and they thought, well, just take him on down to the morgue. So we got on the elevator and going down to the morgue, and
I remember this one.
Yeah, there's an instructor there. She had 4 students with her, and she asked me, said, what y'all got? And I said, yeah, we got a patient that was in a house fire. We take him down to the morgue. She says, can we see it? Can my students see it? I said, yes, ma'am. Yes, if you want to. I unzipped it by halfway. They all started hollering and turned pale. It scared them to death. But it just...
Yeah, when you're not used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember in training that I've done, they've shown videos and films and pictures, and you start out with a room of 40 people at the beginning of the semester at school. But when you get down to the end, it's down to 10, 15 because people just can't deal with it. And yeah, I could just imagine those kids not being ready to see that. But yeah, no, it like I say, being calm and being focused and prepared, it helps, but it doesn't fix everything. No. And I can't talk a whole lot about it, but we had a fatality fire a while back that I was the investigator on. And when you realize that there are people that have lost their lives, or you realize that somebody's not going to have their kids or their mom coming home, there's some reality that sets in on that. But when we laugh about things like we talk about in these stories, a lot of people that maybe haven't dealt with stuff like that before might think it's grim or dark. But dark humor is really an honest way that we deal with these problems. And yeah, I appreciate you taking time to talk about it a little bit more. I was listening to a podcast, another one that was talking about driver's ed films. And you remember back in the 50s and 60s, driver's ed films were really bloody and gory.
Yeah.
There were people like photographers and cameramen that would sit around the police department waiting on an accident.
Oh, yeah.
They would get out there before EMS or whoever, and they'd be filming The people laid out on the ground, and they did it because it was a financial gain for them.
Yeah.
And I've heard stories that there were other unscrupulous people. I don't think that was necessarily the case.
Yeah, sometimes somebody be at an accident or whatever you were at with cameras.
Yeah.
That's just something that
Nowadays, everybody's got a cell phone with a camera built in. Everybody's got security cameras around their house, and it's not uncommon now for when there's an accident to have 10 different video angles of what happens. Yeah, things have changed for the good and for the bad. But like I said, you and your wisdom and experience with this stuff definitely comes into play. And I just want to give folks another chance to get wisdom from you yet again. I appreciate you taking time to talk to us. You have been listening to All Clear. All Clear is presented by the North Carolina Firefighter Cancer Alliance and the First Responders Peer Support Network. This program is hosted and produced by Travis McGaha and Eric Stevenson. Visit our website, allclearpodcast.com, where you can contact us and leave feedback. If you like what you hear, please share this podcast with someone. The opinions of guests do not necessarily represent the views of the podcast. This podcast is recorded with Descript and with technology that is provided by Quartet Computers. We'll see you soon, and as always, light your fire within.